Chaos in 40k is something I have found deeply fascinating, considering the fact that most of the videos on my channel related to 40k have been related to chaos in some form or fashion, whether it's the Chaos Gods, Chaos Space Marines, their equipment, the he's and hers, beach towels, etc. Who knows? I'm clearly a fan. I mean, hell, I'm not even done with my Space Marine army yet, and I've already bought the 10th edition Chaos Space Marines Codex, which is stellar, by the way. If you want to get into playing Chaos Space Marines, this or the 3.5 Chaos Space Marine Codex, not a bad spot to start at, but that's besides the point. I'm doing a bit of a different type of video here, where it's kind of more rambly and less heavily scripted, and just kind of seeing how I like it. I haven't done a video of this sort of format in a very long time. Those were videos I made before I did 40k stuff, and those have all been private, and I don't really think they're all that good. If you guys want to see them, I can make a playlist of them and unlist them, and if you guys are curious, I don't know, let me know if you guys want that. But I appreciate your support after being gone for so long. I will have an update video coming relatively soon in terms of where I've been and just what's been going on with me. But, you know, it's either here nor there. Again, thank you very much for watching. But today, I kind of want to discuss what would the best Chaos God to serve be? And that includes Chaos Undivided, although that isn't a Chaos God, but, you know, I'm just throwing it in here for the sake of it being kind of a palate cleanser base ground. Because Chaos Worship is a very unique thing that, while we do see each of them being the Chaos Gods, have their own ups and downs, and I feel like it would be interesting to kind of see what that would look like from the perspective of either a Space Marine or an average Joe, depending on the specific example I'm giving. I'm not really trying to focus on one or the other, more broad strokes rather than getting into the minutia. Although, I will be getting into the minutia sometimes. But before I get into Chaos Undivided or any of them, I want to discuss how people tend to engage with the Chaos Gods. And I usually see that come in two flavors: fanatical or secular. And to clarify, when I say fanatical, I don't mean religious fanatic. I don't mean worship. That's the word bearers. Outside of the word bearers, nobody really treats chaos and the Chaos Gods like a religion. And if I needed to ascribe a word to them in that sort of school of thought, I would describe them as either religious or faithful rather than fanatics. Now, are they fanatical? Absolutely, but they're fanatical in a different way. When I say a fanatic, I mean someone who's fully drinking the Chaos Kool-Aid. I am fully devoted to my Chaos God. Not in a religious sense, but more in the sense that Typhus or Lucius is devoted to their Chaos God. They believe in the power that the gods can bring and essentially try to live that lifestyle, but do not have a religious view of that Chaos God. Whereas with someone who is far more secular and they're dealing with the Chaos Gods, secular means something closer to Chaos Undivided. Or this person just happens to line up pretty well with their chosen Chaos God and are using Chaos, say, as a weapon, or a way to enhance their combat style, or this or that, or whatever. The Black Legion are a pretty good example of using Chaos in a more secular, non-fanatical manner. Same with the Iron Warriors, or at least the ones who aren't fully devoted to Chaos, as the Iron Warriors are one of the legions that are incredibly diverse in terms of their warbands and their dealing with Chaos. So, with those parameters out of the way, first up, let's talk about Chaos Undivided. On average, Chaos Undivided is not a bad route to take, because you're getting equal favor from all four gods, and depending on how you approach that, you could either be sitting pretty or be a full-on crazy cultist. Now, if you're someone who is drinking the Word Bearer's Kool-Aid, you're probably going to be fine. As such, you're probably going to end up in religious squabbles with other peoples and different warbands. Absolutely, it happens all the time. The amount of infighting that the Word Bearers have is ridiculous. I mean, Corferon is backstabbing his allies all the frickin' time. Read the Dawn of Fire books, in particular number 4. Corferon's in that, and he's an asshole the entire way through. To be fair, that is Corferon, but again, that's kind of the Word Bearer's thing. They are faithful and religious to a fault, but they will backstab each other and just be ridiculous, depending on the individual. But most of the time when we see Chaos Undivided, it's usually in a warrior of chaos sort of school of thought. Someone closer to Abaddon or the Black Legion, who are like, I am a renegade marine, I let the galaxy burn, I do not like the Imperium, but I am not fighting in a religious sense. I am not fighting for the Chaos Gods. I am fighting for me. We just happen to align on certain things, and I'm perfectly happy to accept your gifts as long as it's a decent deal for me. And to be perfectly honest, outside of one other Chaos God that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, that's probably the best chance you have when it comes to actually dealing with chaos. And in my experience, ones who tend to take that school of thought probably have the best time dealing with chaos, which is weird. So it seems like if you're on one end of the extreme or the other, you're doing pretty good when it comes to Chaos Undivided. It's when you get into the weird wishy-washy territory where it's like, oh, well, I'm kind of religious or kind of not, or da-da-da-da-da-da. That's when you tend to get into the most trouble. You either need to be all in or all out, and there's no in-between. Personally, Chaos Undivided would probably not be a bad spot for me to be in. Now, next, is Nurgle. Nurgle is probably one of the worst Chaos Gods to, devote yourself to, and to many people, it's just like, wait a second, you'll be able to live forever, and this and that, whatever, blah, 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 but listen, unless you're someone like Typhus or Mortarion, or, like a high-ranking member of the Death Guard, if you're an average human, and you're serving Nurgle, you're gonna become a zombie with no thoughts. You're not gonna have any agency. You might as well be dead. You're not gonna have anything going for you. Of course, if you end up, making like a chemical super weapon or this or that or whatever, or blah, 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 that makes you blessed in Nurgle's eyes, then of course you're gonna have a better time. But the average Nurgle cultist is a poxwalker. You're gonna end up being screwed. Which is hilarious, because Nurgle is the king of gaslighting. People will talk shit about Tzeentch, and I'm going to in a second, for different reasons, mind you, but that's besides the point. Nurgle is like a used car salesman. He's a scammer. He is just as manipulative and as much of a bullshitter as Tzeentch is. There's a reason why those two hate each other. They're two sides of the same coin, and they're far closer than people want you to believe, and ironically, Tzeentch is probably more honest than Nurgle is, because Nurgle, like a used car salesman, looks like it's gonna give you a good deal, and then it turns out that your catalytic converter's gone and your engine doesn't work and blah, 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 blah. And that's basically what happens when you end up serving Nurgle. Because sometimes you can get a good deal with a used car salesman. Your car might work, but that's probably because you have something to bring to the table, right? You have good credit, you have this, you have all this other stuff. The same way with Nurgle. Unless you can make it worth Nurgle's while, you're not shit. And you're gonna get stuck with the chaos equivalent of a busted Nissan Altima instead of something good. That's the best way I can describe Nurgle. He is a used car salesman. If you are very good at, defying the Geneva Convention and throwing chemical weapons at people, and you can really, really make it worth Nurgle's while, you're probably going to be decently fine with Nurgle, especially if you're a Space Marine. But if you're the average person, you're eventually going to end up a Poxwalker or something else, and there's nothing you can really do. Plus, the whole hive mind, I feel good about everything thing only works if you fully drink the Kool-Aid. If you have any sort of reservations or this or that or whatever, he tortures you. Nurgle is not your friend. He's easily the worst Chaos God to end up serving for these reasons. Genuinely, worse than Tzeentch. And I mean this wholeheartedly. And up next is Tzeentch. Nice segue there, buddy. Tzeentch is an asshole. I don't necessarily think that that is a very controversial statement. Tzeentch is a dick. Everybody knows this, but there's a weird sort of honesty in the sense that the guy you're making a deal with is an asshole and isn't pretending to be anything other than an asshole. He's not going to stab you in the front, he is going to stab you in the back, but if you're useless, he will let you know, and you'll just end up exploding. You're not going to end up in an eternity of suffering, and sure, he might have your soul, but again, you're not going to end up as a mindless poxwalker forever. And outside of that, Tzeentch is just so inconsistent and does not have a lot of followers, where most of the time when you end up encountering something with Tzeentch, you're not really encountering cultists. You're encountering either the Thousand Sons, Chaos Demons, or wizard shit. That's it, because once he's done with you, he's just gonna chuck you and you're good. Honestly, you're probably gonna have a better time with Tzeentch than you would Nurgle, because it might suck, but it won't be super long. Because let's be honest here, choosing Chaos in any sort of form is probably not the best idea. So if you are, you might as well do the one that'll give you the best deal, or at least allow you to have a semi-good time. And speak of having a semi-good time, up next is Slaanesh. This is probably your second best option. I know this leaves the first option to not be very subtle, but I promise I have a method to my madness. Slaanesh is here for a good time, not a long time. In a weird way, Slaanesh and Nurgle are very similar in the sense that you really have to make it worth Slaanesh's while to really get very far. There's a reason why Lucius keeps popping up and is one of the preferred champions of Slaanesh. If you make it worth Slaanesh's while, you're going to be sitting pretty. But even if you don't, you'll at least have a good time before you end up imploding. You're not going to get a second chance. You're not going to do this. You're going to die. Your soul's going to end up belonging to Slaanesh. But hey, at least you had a relatively, air quotes, good time before you ended up, dying. And that's the reason why I feel like Slaanesh is one of the better Chaos Gods to choose. Because, again, you're already damned from the second you end up really being corrupted by Chaos. And if you do actually have ambition or just sheer spite, you can probably get somewhere to be able to do something well with Slaanesh, even if it completely starts to suck. Sure, it's a bit of a raw deal, but it's not an outright lie. And again, once you deal with Slaanesh, you know what you're dealing with. There's a weird form of brutal honesty there, but you're probably going to have an easier time than you would with Tzeentch. And up last is Khorne. Khorne's the only Chaos God that makes sense to worship. It is the only one. Outside of Chaos Undivided and Khorne, those are the only two options you should really choose. Those should be your top two. Honestly, the best one is Chaos Undivided, but if you had to pick one, you're gonna pick Khorne. And I'm gonna explain why. Our buddy Karn, right? My favorite Space Marine character and just general cool guy, Karn. Yeah, he doesn't worship Khorne. He just happens to align with Khorne because both of them like fighting, and Khorne just thinks that Karn is cool. That's it. Genuinely. I don't really know how else to explain this. Karn is not a religious fanatic. He's not a crazy person. When he's actually lucid, he's incredibly intelligent and smart. He's not crazy, and he's not lost in his sauce. He's not huffing the Chaos Kool-Aid. Him and Khorne have a mutually beneficial relationship. Khorne gets skulls, Karn gets to keep fighting. And that's basically what ends up happening. Khorne is the one Chaos God that, if you are useless, will not pay any attention to you. He's not going to lie to you and say that you aren't needed. He might just kill you, but again, he'll just kill you. Why? Because it's not worth his time. But if he is worth your while, I guarantee you that Khorne will bless you and make sure that you are doing A-okay. He essentially only picks the best, and if he does choose you, you're probably good. Genuinely, you're good for a long freaking time, because despite how comically incompetent Angron is, how many times has he brought back Angron? I mean, outside of him being a demon Primarch? Many. How many times has Karn died, and then Khorne brought him back to life? As far as I know, twice. Once during the Siege of Terra, and then kind of helping him come out of a coma after the Siege of Terra in Karn, Eater of Worlds. Very, very good book. But the major benefit of devoting oneself to Khorne and having his blessings is that you're not gonna mutate. You're not gonna get turned into some wizard shit, and you're not gonna get turned into mincemeat at the world's stupidest rave. You're just gonna get stronger, you're gonna get faster, you're gonna get better at fighting. You're not gonna bullshit. You're gonna be able to do everything else. You're gonna be able to have power. Power to be able to go fight and be able to conquer. Khorne is might makes right, and if you have the might, good golly, he will make you right as rain. This is a stupid joke, I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't really understand the Khorne slant. I mean, I get, it's very funny. Ha ha, Khorne Berserker charge. I've done it too. I've played Tabletop Simulator. I've played my fair share of 40k games, alright? I've done the thing where I just play a World Eater's army, and it's basically just Angron and Khorne Berserkers, and I just charge people. And it's fun, okay? It's not a hard tactic to do, but it is fun. But from a purely mechanical standpoint, when it comes to worshiping a Chaos God, Khorne doesn't want you to worship him. He doesn't want you to pay tithe. He doesn't want you to show virtue. He wants you to do stuff. He doesn't care if you pay a bunch of lip service if you're not killing people. He doesn't care at all. He just wants you to go out and do the thing. He's going to pay attention to results, and he's going to reward your hard work. In a weird way, Khorne is the meritocratic chaos god. That's it. That's my rankings over who would probably be the best one to end up serving if you end up falling to chaos. This is a very different kind of video. I had too much fun recording this. I hope that all made sense. I appreciate your time. Thank you all very much for watching. Please consider supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm going to have that update videos out for you guys in a couple of days. Thank you very much to the channel members for your continued support. It really means a lot. Take care, everybody. See ya.